Oh, it said
Wait,
one
it says now. It says it. We're live.
It said it on my screen.
We're live. We're live.
We're live. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
It's always so much fun to just pop in live. You just never know what the lag time is or how it's going.
No, that's definitely true. Or who's supposed to lead off this week?
So we are live. We are excited to be here on a Thursday night as summer is slowly, or maybe in your part of the world, quickly moving into fall. We are so excited to welcome the Isn't It Romantic Book Club members, as well as Abbie's Dangerously Dark Darlings are with us tonight. And I think I'm going to share this into the page turners later. So we just are welcome to everybody. We're so excited that you're here. So we have a lot of fun coming up tonight. We're excited to welcome Asa and talk about her great fun book. You can tell we're giving you that little fun hint again about our main character Molly.
One person who doesn't have hers, but okay.
That's all right. Everybody just pretend Diana has lightning bolts shooting out of her head.
Use your imagination. Hi, guys.
Anyway. So I am Jennie Marts. I write Western romance and I write cozy mysteries. I write hockey players and I write a combination of that. So I just mashed them all up and I wrote some hockey playing cowboys. So these are my hockey playing cowboys out of Credence.
Nice.
Colorado, and I just did an offshoot of that, and my newest book is The Horse Rescue, A Cowboy State of Mind.
Oh, good.
So thank you. Some of you remember we did this one a couple of months ago, and we're just so glad you guys are here. We're excited to get started. We've got a giveaway for tonight for our what are the commenters? Brain, I think these lightning bolts need to shoot into my head to make my brain start working. So,
okay.
We want you guys to comment. We want you all to be a part.
And we see you there. Hi, Sarah.
Yep, I see Michelle and Sarah, and we want you guys to be part of the conversation and part of the talk tonight. So make sure that you jump in with comments, and we like to get as much participation as possible. So we're going to do a giveaway for our commenters, for one of our commenters that we'll choose on
every
Sunday.
Comment is an entry, and you cannot enter too many times. So
there you go.
Okay.
So, Abbie Abbie's going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her.
Okay. Well, guys, I'm Abbie Rhodes. I write dangerously dark romance. I tell people think an episode of Criminal Minds with a twist of paranormal meets a love story. I totally forgot my books. I'm not prepared, but here's the cover of Capturing Fate. Let me see if it's a glare. I'm sorry. It's like, this is always so difficult. It's with the proofreader right now. As soon as I get it back, it'll be ready to go. So hopefully that'll be there soon. Oh, and on the back is all the rest of the books that I have written. So there's that little, I call the covers like the blue one, the green one, the white one, the red one. All right. And so before we move on, I just wanted to stop and say thank you. Huge, giant thank you to all the authors who participated in the Fall Into a Book giveaway. You guys were spectacular in your giveaways. And this most super, super special thank you to all you readers for showing up, showing the authors love.
Yes, thank you guys.
Yes.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, and I got so many emails from authors saying how wonderful this group was, that they were so impressed with our readers in this group.
Our readers are the best.
Yes, because of the interaction that they got from you guys. And so just super huge thank you. You guys truly are the best. Now, I just wanted to tell you, make sure that you have checked your notifications, because that's how the authors who are trying to reach you to tell you you won, So make sure that you are still checking all your notifications. If you know there's a certain prize on there that you really wanted, maybe scroll back through, search that author's name, find their post, and just see if you can check to make sure that you weren't notified and just didn't see it. Because there are some that just haven't claimed their prizes yet, and that might be you. And surprise, you might have won.
Michelle, can you see Michelle's comment? She said, I scrolled through so many comments.
We had 144 authors that day.
Yeah.
Like, I was blown away and it was a crazy day in the group, man. It was like so a lot.
Yeah. And I see Sarah's here. Sarah, when you get a chance, PM me, because I know you won one of my giveaways and I haven't heard from you yet. So when you get a chance, no rush. It's not going anywhere. So just give me you can tell me. And my name is Sharon Wray. I write the Amazon bestselling Deadly Force series. Bunch of them. They are romantic suspense novels, but they're more like romantic suspense with National Treasure type complex. They're actually really, really long, like with National Treasure, Dan Brown type plots. They're fun, they're adventurous, and they're very sexy. And one of the things, two things. One is I want to thank Abbie. Abbie did all of the work for that giveaway. So I know we thank the readers and the authors, but I want to thank Abbie.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Everything. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that we're running in the group I'm putting a post up on Tuesday, and I think I'll start doing it on the weekends. We are, as a group, reading through The Artist Way, which is a course in discovering and recovering your creative self for both the readers in the group as well as any of the authors who want to join in. It's completely free to join. We're just going to discuss it and see how we feel as we work through. Each week, we're going to do a different chapter. So super easy. You're welcome to join. You're welcome to jump in at any time, jump out anytime. It's very casual.
What does it entail?
So each course gets you deeper and deeper into discovering who you are as an artist. And it doesn't matter if you have to be a writer, it could be anything. It could be piano playing, it could be baker, it could be anything. And all of the blocks that we go through. And there are things that you can do, like writing morning pages or taking yourself on artist dates. There's actually very specific skills you can learn and things you can do to help break through some of the focus fog that we're all dealing with right now. The reason is because I was struggling with everything going on in the world. So I thought, well, why not do it as a group? So you're welcome.
That's perfect. Thank you.
And I will say, like, I've never read The Artist Way before, and I've started it just because Sharon suggested it and it looks really good. And so it really made me think. I did like the introduction part, and I've read chapter 1, and it really makes you think. And something that I asked the group, I think on Wednesday, was how many readers had thought about being a writer, like had just, like thought about it. And because it made me think when I was reading the book about shadow artists, like we want to write, and I know so many readers do, they want to write a book, but it's like they're scared. Like there's like, what do I do? I don't know how to do it. And like that mean censor and editor in your brain says, you don't know what you're doing and all that. And so I posed that question to everybody because I want you to think about Sharon's The Artist Way, because it really kind of makes you think about all the things we tell ourselves why we can't do something.
Right. Let's unlock that creativity and get everybody writing. That would be great.
It was great. It was what helped me move from, I was always a librarian as my regular gig, but I was a couture wedding gown designer on the side. And I shifted from that to becoming a writer because I did this. And that was a big shift because I had a lot of money and I had a big business. So but I don't regret it.
I'm going to check it out on Tuesday. That's all. Thank you.
Sarah, that's very sweet. Love the comment.
All right, Diana.
They are fantastic. Okay, my name is Diana Muñoz Stewart. I write romantic suspense for the strong of heart. And my #1 best-selling series, Black Ops Confidential, is in bookstores now, on Amazon now. It's about a secret society of vigilantes that scour the globe, righting wrongs against women, and of course the very hot men that fall in love with them. The last book, The Cost of Honor, is out, and my next series, the Bad Legacy series, is coming soon. I'm working on the last round of edits. I'm sorry it has taken so long, but COVID has knocked me on my butt this year. And I can't wait to get that to you, though. I really am enjoying writing this book. And okay, so I'm so excited to be able to introduce to you today the author of our book club selection, Flash of Fear, which I loved. I love this book. Asa Maria Bradley grew up in Sweden, surrounded by archaeology and history steeped in Norse mythology, which inspired her sexy modern-day Viking warriors paranormal romance series. She also writes urban fantasy about empowered heroines who kick ass while saving the world. Yes, she does. Booklist attributes her writing with nonstop action, satisfying romantic encounters, and intriguing world building. And Entertainment Weekly says, when it comes to paranormal romance with explosive action scenes, Bradley has that nailed. Her work has received the honors of a double nomination for the Romance Writers of America's Rita Contest, a Reviewer's Choice Award nomination, a Holt Medallion win, and a Bookseller's Best Award win. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Welcome, Asa Maria.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on your bestseller status, your Amazon bestseller status. That's so exciting.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone that bought the book, because I think that being in the book club probably helped with that a lot. So
yeah, book club.
Yeah, that just happened. Yeah. It was the book that we read for this month.
Yeah.
That's the one that got me there. Yeah.
Hey, I think that we all should say how we know Asa. Because we all know Asa.
Yeah.
How do we know Asa? Okay, I know Asa because Asa and I met because in 2014, we were both Golden Heart finalists. And so that's how I met Asa.
That's how I met Abbie.
The same way. I was in the same Golden Heart class.
Yeah.
Asa and Abbie.
Aww.
Yeah.
Me too.
I met Asa because we both write for Source Books, and I met her at a Source Books function at a conference.
Yeah.
Okay. Diana, you met her just because we're Source Books, or?
Yeah, well, weren't we, were you the 2015?
I'm 14. I'm 14.
Oh,
2015.
Oh, okay. All right. So I don't know how I met her.
I think it's through Source Books. Yeah.
Okay. We met at a party. We were drinking. It was,
Yeah. That's how I met all of you, but
That's very true.
That was just different parties at different years, but then
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we are all published with the same publisher. That's also another connection.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I love this book so much.
Oh, I do too.
love Molly. And you know what? One of my favorite things about this book was how her power slowly develops as her character develops and as the plot develops. So they're all kind of ramping up together to give you this, really explosive ending, where literally explosive.
Yeah, right.
So I have to ask you, did you plot that together, or did that just, come out naturally in writing?
I don't know. I think when I think about the stereotype of heroine that I often write, it's kind of like the ugly duckling, the girl that never felt like she was pretty, and maybe she's not traditionally pretty. And then that carries over with the paranormal as well. It's like they have superpowers, because all my stuff is either urban fantasy or paranormal, but they're not quite comfortable with it. And so like she's had this ability since she was a child, but she was punished for it. And so she's never really been comfortable with it. And then unfortunately, the one time she kind of shared it, it didn't work very well with an ex-boyfriend. And so she's keeping it secret, but it's also what makes her really good at her job. So she's kind of using it without really accepting it as part of herself, or thinking of it as a shameful part of herself. So the idea of that journey of coming to terms and loving yourself, no matter what your body type is, or what your hair color is, or in this case, what paranormal power you have. I think that's sort of what made her take her powers to the next level. She finally leaned into it, as opposed to not really accepting it as part of herself. So I don't think I plotted it. I think that's just I somehow relate to that. I don't know. I don't have any superpowers that I need to relate to that.
Yeah. We all relate to that. We all relate to the, hiding, your light under a bushel and not wanting to, you know,
Yeah.
get the attention or what have you. And she's like that, you know, and even downplaying something that is so beautiful about herself, you know, that she survived this tragedy, and she hides that, you know, this lightning strike and the repercussions with her grandmother. So
yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, and then part of the romantic, you know, journey, finding the person that loves you for who you fully are, even though her best friend is like, no, you're perfect, you're fantastic, and it's sort of like, well, you're my best friend, so that's your job to tell me that. But I think that when you find the person that sees all your flaws and still love you, I mean, that's like the beautiful love story. I think that makes you stronger, even if they sometimes calls you on your crap. But and so I kind of wanted that to be part of her love story too, in that Des, the detective, like sees her for who she really is, and loves her because of it, not despite it, kind of thing. That's another part of her journey.
I loved him.
You know, I absolutely adored her backstory with the grandma, and I just, I would love to even read that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that was fascinating. And the other thing is, when I was reading, I didn't have, like, you know, I didn't really know what the book was about until I started reading it. And I was like, oh my gosh, because Race of Darkness has that same thing. The hero was struck by lightning and has that Lichtenberg fractal pattern.
Yeah.
And did you look, I mean, I'm sure you did. You looked that up to see what that looks like. And I'll tell y'all out there, you know, tuning in right now, look it up. It is the most beautiful scarring that you can ever imagine. Like, it's, I mean, for scars, this is, you're gonna be scarred. This is the scar you want.
Right. It's not a stretch mark. It's,
Right.
No, it's like a tattoo. It's gorgeous. Yeah. So my day job is to teach physics at a college. And when you have high voltage pass through an insulator, so our body is like 80% water, so we're insulators when it comes to voltage passes over the surface of stuff. And you can do the same thing in like acrylic plastic and stuff. You get these like amazing, like fern-like lightning patterns. And so I knew about it from there. And then I think, like a long time ago, I read an Alice Hoffman book about a woman who had been hit by lightning, and her back had that scar, and she would like find other survivors that had also survived lightning. And somehow that book stuck in my mind. And then I was writing an article for a magazine, and I was interviewing somebody who was a forensic artist. And then after that interview, like driving home, all of a sudden, like, hit by lightning, like it just like came together. So yeah. And this book, I wrote it before I wrote the Viking books, which is the books that sold traditionally. And so this book comes before that, but it, like, I don't know if I just didn't know how to hit the right niche in the market. We went out on proposal with my agent, and she had asked me to write it more as romantic suspense. And so I think maybe my voice wasn't quite right. So this was like just really fun to finally get to put it out on indie. And so that's one of the reasons why I loved your book, Abbie, because I had written this book, and I was like, it was out like on proposal, and nobody loved my lightning girl. And then I was like, Abbie also writes lightning. Like, there's people out there that like this. We just like have to get it in the right hands.
Well, and it's funny because one of the comments that I have gotten about Race of Darkness is, I want to know more about that lightning strike, you know? And I think, how cool is it that you're a physics professor? I just sort of like went with it, but you like got the science behind it, you know?
Well, I don't know that I know that much about the science, but I like looking at the pretty pictures of, because if you search for Lichtenberg figures, which is Lichtenberg, I think, they show you like how they created it in, like, I don't know, acrylic plastic or on metal or other things. But then the people that were hit by lightning, when they show up, it looks different on different people, and it looks different depending on what skin tone you have, and they're all so gorgeous. It's really, I mean, it's extremely dangerous. You don't want to go out and stand We're not advocating for you to go on the stand and like,
Don't try this at home. No.
Yeah, try this at home.
But yeah, it was good. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Michelle said she got a Carrie feel with her grandma and her mom. Right. Oh, that sounds really that's really like I'm really honored by that because Carrie is like kind of awesome.
And Sarah says she loves ugly duckling heroines.
Mm-hmm.
And Lena says she loves source books, so that's cool.
That's always good.
I love source books too. Asa, I forgot what I was going to say.
It's live. Don't worry about it.
I love the fact you had a Viking type man in there. I was like, oh.
I know.
And you had an Eric, tall blonde Eric. Like, oh, I wonder.
And I totally pictured Eric from True Blood.
Oh yeah,
Alexander Skarsgård, man, he was Eric.
I think he totally was. And since I wrote this one before the Vikings, I think he was like the prototype for Leif that showed up later. And I based both of them on Eric and True Blood. Stellan Skarsgård is Stellan is his dad.
Yeah, it's Alex.
Alexander, right? Yeah. The Skarsgårds are like the Baldwins of Sweden. There's like the dad is an actor, all the brothers are actors. So there's like Alexander, there's the guy that was in Vikings.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
There's like 3 brothers that are actors and 1 brother who's a director. And then their dad is also an actor. So yeah.
Yeah, and wasn't it the youngest one who was it in Stephen King's It? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. They're everywhere.
Can one of our readers help us out with the name? Anybody out there?
Well, and I feel like we're watching Lovecraft Country, and I kind of feel like there might be a Skarsgård brother in that too.
They're everywhere. Yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah. Oh, somebody is talking about Sweet Home Alabama, where they do the lightning strike art. I'd forgotten about that, but yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Wearing the
sand.
Yeah, with doesn't he put like big nails or something in the sand and buries and it makes it has such high voltage that it makes the sand into glass. Yeah.
So someone had mentioned, I think Michelle was saying that there was a Carrie feel to the grandmother. Does that get explored in later books? The backstory? Do we get more into that, or?
Well, there's only 2 books, so no, not in the second. I'm not really exploring in the second book. I should probably write like a prequel, maybe.
Oh my God, that's lovely. Yeah, do that.
I don't know if this made it into this book or not. Like, you know how Bill was the one in
Bill, yes, Bill, yeah.
But you there was a scene at some point in the book, you know how you like edit it so many times you don't remember which scenes got cut and which ones stayed, where she used to like dance with her great uncle. Okay. I think that's as much as I've really explored that relationship. There was some other stuff about her parents and what happened to the parents, and then I decided that was making it so complicated that I should just make it easier, because I had things like they weren't allowed to be buried in the cemetery because like the village that she grew up in was super religious, and that was part of why they were shunning her and stuff. And I was like, I'm spending more time on like what happened.
Okay, but okay, so let me tell you that because the captain, Zedler, is such a father figure to her, and he does ask her sometimes, and you did say that, something happened to her parents. Like, I still have it in my mind that he might actually really show up to be her dad or her uncle, or maybe he didn't know what happened to her.
Yeah, because he's really protective.
And he said, you mean more to me than you could possibly know.
Yeah. So I feel like there's some really big possibilities there. And I'm also hoping that at some point, maybe he actually has some kind of unique abilities too, and that's why he's so accepting of her. I think there's a whole Zedler
He
book.
definitely has some sort of
Yeah.
I kind of think of him as like the wise owl, you know, that know more than we know. Like, and right now, I think he knows more than even I know. But that's how I had him in my mind, was that he knew about her ability, but didn't think of it as like, it would be rude to bring it up since she hadn't told him about it. Like, he's sort of like, that's not my secret to tell. But yeah, I think that he's like, she didn't know that he knew and that he was accepting of her. But yeah.
And she was obviously not ready for it. She was obviously not ready for that kind of information. And as she evolved, and yeah.
But I don't know.
I think there's some big possibilities for what could happen with him later.
We'll see. We'll have to see.
He could get his own book. He could actually end up being, I don't know. I think there's a lot.
The second book comes out next week, and the book.
We're giving her ideas for the third book.
Yeah, for the third book, yeah, or the spin-off, this Zedler spin-off, yeah.
Right, yeah.
There you go.
But you know what? There was
another
so many,
novella.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities for spin-offs though, because I was thinking about Nina's like grandma and aunt, or, you know.
Oh, and Dakota, Nina.
Yeah, I'm like, Alice's got a whole thing coming here.
Oh,
she should.
That's what I thought the next book was. Nina, the Wolf Hunter.
No, it's Molly and Des again. Molly and Des are like the couple that goes through this whole series. Yeah.
Oh, come on. We need a novella about
Nina. What's that about? Those two are going to be explosive. Come on.
Yeah, they're doing sexy stuff, but like, you know, while I'm writing the other books, they're definitely off doing sexy stuff. But Nina's aunts, Nina's aunts kind of show up. They're mentioned again in book 2 that comes out on Tuesday, because Molly doesn't know what to do with her, like her powers kind of escalated, and now she's like, I'm a little bit afraid to practice these powers because
as well she should be.
Things burn down, and I hurt
myself. Getting tingly, but now she's like shooting stuff out of her body.
Yeah, so she turns to the Hall sisters. The grandma lives with her 2 sisters. And so she turns to them for some help, and they end up giving her a referral to where to go and get some coaching. So they're definitely part of the world, yeah. And they'll come back.
How much research did you have to do on things like cars and motorcycles? Because you went into great detail, and I was very impressed.
I go and ask my husband.
Oh, because I had to Google what Dez's car was, because I'd never heard of it before, and I'm like, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that one, I used to work with a guy that drove one of those, the TLS. And so he was that asshole that like parked sideways so nobody could park next to him because like he needed extra space. And we had like no parking space in this company that I worked for. So, but it was a really cool car. So everybody was like forgiven of it. And he was a really nice person. But still, he was taking up 2 parking spaces. So yeah, I like that car. But my husband is really into motorcycles and cars, and so he doesn't buy them. He just watches like a lot of YouTube videos about them. So I like ask him some questions. But he so the Viking series that I wrote for Source Books is about immortal Vikings that have come back to protect humanity against Loki. And so that was my very first book that came out. And my husband doesn't read fiction. And I was kind of like, he was like, oh, I should read this because it's your book. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I want him to read it. Like, it's a lot of sexy stuff in there. And I don't know. So we were on vacation somewhere, and I think he ended up listening to it on audiobook. And he like listened to the entire book. And then he goes, why did you have him like drive the Porsche? Like, it wasn't even an expensive kind. Like, he wouldn't pick that model. He would like pick a much more expensive car. I'm like, that's your takeaway from this whole like 300 pages, that you didn't like his car? And he was like, no, I lost respect for him there. Like, he should have spent more money.
That's how a man's brain works versus a woman, right?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'll ask you about cars next time. Like,
Yeah, how funny is it that you don't want your husband to read your sex scene?
I know, and it's almost like we should go, honey, here, like study, like. Hi, Elizabeth.
Well, and my husband said to me, like, just like a few days ago, he's like, you know, like, are all romance books like this hot? Like, she went down on him. Like, like, is that really in romance novels? And I'm like, yeah, this isn't porn. This is like what's in romance novels. And he's like, really? Because that's really kind of graphic. All right.
Yeah, I have coworkers that read the book because I wrote it, like, and or read one of my books in it, and they don't necessarily read romance, and they're all science people.
Right.
And so one of my colleagues who teaches geology said that she was lying in bed and she was reading the book, and her husband knows what's in the book because they came to my like my debut event at the bookstore, and so we were talking about sexy stuff there, so he knows it's a sexy book. And so he was like nudging her, like, oh, you're reading Elsa's book. Like, oh, you're reading Elsa's book. So it's going to be a good evening. And she turned the book over and she shows him the cover and she goes like, honey, until you look like this, like, I'm going to keep on reading the book. I was like, that's cold.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
We got our answer for the Skarsgård family.
oh, we sure did. That's from Lena.
From Lena, Dad Stellan, Alexander actor, Gustav actor, Bill actor, Walter, is it? Actor?
Mm-hmm.
And sister model and Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that research for us so that we didn't have to.
Yeah, they don't all have the same mom, but they all have the same dad.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like the Baldwin brothers from the Baldwin family.
That's what I was thinking of. That's
Well,
what
and they all kind of, like the Baldwin brothers, they all resemble each other. Like you can tell they're a Skarsgård just by looking at them. Like they do have that resemblance. So Asa, why don't you tell readers like where you're from?
Oh, I grew up in Sweden, and I came here as a high school exchange student to Texas. And then I decided to apply for a scholarship, and I went to college in Texas. And then I just kept on, like, I don't think I wanted to go into like real life. It was like, I either have to like go home or stay here and get a job, or I can go to school and like keep on going to school. So I did that for a while. I actually went to University of Colorado, Jennie, in Denver. Oh. Sorry.
I know. I went to the other one. So.
Oh, did you go to Boulder?
I went to Colorado State. So.
Oh, right. In Fort Collins or
in Fort Collins. Did you see me start to peer and then I was like,
you were like, no.
The other one. Dang it.
And then I ended up working in the tech industry I got a master's in physics from University of Colorado and then went and worked in the tech industry for a while. But so I didn't realize that not everybody are like, that Vikings is not something, or Norse mythology more like it is not something that everybody knows. That's like, because you grow up in a place where you have rune stones, farmer plows his field and there you go, find another rune stone, like get it to the museum and find, I don't know, Roman gold coins and whatever else that the Vikings buried somewhere. So, so that was always like around me, especially the part of Sweden where I live in, there's a lot of it because I'm in the very south of Sweden, or where my family lives. That's how, like, I've always been really fascinated by Norse mythology, and that's woven itself into the Viking books. And they're not in Molly and Dessa's books, but I'm studying a new series in the same world. And that will be with a bunch of Norse shifters that are like, the shifters in Molly and Dessa's books are not always the good guys. But there'll be bad guys in the Norse shifter ones as well. But we like get to be with the Norse pack more, and so Des and Molly might show up in some of those books, or maybe Nina and Dakota. We'll see. They'll be in the same world, but different different areas geographically.
Can you talk a little bit about the mythology in Flash of Fear, of the mythology you set up of the different kinds of shifters and?
Yeah, there's not. I don't know that I thought about it as mythology as much as
World building.
Kind of the world building, and a lot of it has to do with my physics brain. Like if you're doing something like shifting from one mass to another mass, like werewolves are always bigger than the humans were. Like, so what happens to the mass? And in physics, mass is energy, so there has to be energy in there somewhere. I'm going all nerdy on you guys now.
No, I love it.
Yes.
But so it always comes back to energy, right? Like the conservation of energy says that you can't create energy, you can't destroy it. As much energy as we have in the universe now is how much we've always had. You can just shift it from one form to another. And so the idea of shifting energy from one form to another in order to get some sort of transformation or to trigger a paranormal power like Molly's lightning power, that's where that idea came from. Like, okay, I think ley lines are like well, actually you guys don't know about ley lines yet because they show up in book 2, but they're not talked about in book 1. But the idea of ley lines, I'm kind of borrowing things from, I don't know, the known canon of the paranormal. Like there's sort of rules about how shifters work, and there's sort of rules about like where you can pull magic from that it's not necessarily what I came up with. But I'm building a lot of that into. Sorry?
You broke the rules.
Not really break the rules, but maybe put my own twist on them. Mm-hmm. So that the energy that you pull on to do magic, mm-hmm. It's not different from the energy that you pull on to shift. It's just
that's why they're connected. That's why they can feel her power and know that she is like them.
Right.
That's why
that makes sense now.
And she wasn't affected by the music or the voice.
Yeah.
The shroud.
The shroud.
Yeah. Why was she affected by the shroud? Right. Because she's like them?
Because she's immune to it. Yeah. So
is that like how they to find like people like her?
These particular bad guys, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have to know, does Des have some sort of hidden power?
Oh, yeah.
Is this a memory? Or is
look at her face.
I mean, I feel like there's something there. Like he's about to, go shift her on us.
I was wondering the same thing.
Des is going through a very interesting journey in book 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's enough. You don't have to get into it all, but I feel proud of myself for picking that out.
Yeah, I don't know if it was clear, but he when his partner died, Des was bitten. So foreshadow.
Okay.
So
I didn't connect that.
Now, I shouldn't ask this question, but I'm going to. So do you follow the traditional pattern where if someone is bitten, they then turn into something, or?
Depends on if you're, in this world, it depends on whether the person that bit you was a born shifter or a made shifter. So if you're a made shifter, then you can't make other shifters. Unless you do something like what Anthony was trying to do with Samantha, which was getting a whole bunch of energy to make a shifter. Because Anthony is not a born shifter, but his previous wife was. So you have to figure out other ways of making shifters. But if a born shifter bites a shifter, it can turn that person under certain conditions, depending on how strong that shifter is or how old that shifter is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So also, will you talk about the shroud? And maybe you explain it more in the second book, but I just wasn't like what are they doing to those people that are, she's singing to and they're underneath the shroud, but to what end? Like, what's the purpose of that? Or do we learn more about that later?
They're not in the second book. Because the second book changes location. They're actually in Colorado. But the idea there was that they were kind of like energy vampires. Like it was a way to steal energy from the audience.
Oh.
So like the adulation or the worshiping or the like mesmerizing of the art, kind of like some cults do this, where they can get the people into a trance-like state. I mean, I don't know that they steal energy, because I don't know that that's actually a thing.
Like a succubus type.
Yeah. But you can get like a whole audience into like a trance. It's like old revival meetings in the Deep South and like a very sort of Southern Baptist.
Nickelodeon does the same thing to kids. I've seen it.
Yeah. Do they start speaking in tongues?
So also we like to often ask our guest authors about their process, and you have talked about how you work at a day job as well. So tell us a little bit about your writing process and when you have time to write, and do you have like word count goals, or tell us a little bit about your writing process.
I think part of my process is to not get. It feels like I think that every book I feel like, oh, this is my process, and I now have it nailed down, and I sit down to do the next book, and I'm like, nope, not working. I don't know what's wrong. So part of my process was that I had to like come to grips with that the process will continuously evolve, and I might have to keep on tweaking it. But because I'm a college professor and I'm tenured, I have a lot of freedom with my schedule. So one of the things I found out is I'm not very good at like being a teacher in the morning and then coming home and write at night. I like really large blocks of writing where I'm completely absorbed. So what I do is I have teaching days and then non-teaching days. So I work super long hours at school. Like I'll work like a 10, 12-hour day. But in return, then I get a day where I don't have to wear the teacher hat at all if I don't want to. Usually what I end up doing is I'll write until I don't have any more words in me to write that day. And then I might grade papers or do something that doesn't take as much emotional energy or creative energy. And that works better for me than trying to write every day. I don't do very well with that. Because I can't get my brain to switch. Like my brain latches onto a problem and it won't go to the next.
That's when you know something. Yeah, I've reached those points where you're just stuck. Right.
Yeah. So that works for me to have writing days and day job days. And then I don't know. My process is like this book that's coming out on Tuesday was really different process, because I have this idea of like I spend a lot of time thinking about the story before I actually sit down and write the words. So it's almost like the book is written in my head, and it never looks as beautiful when I write it on paper. I'm like, that's not how the scene is supposed to look. And so I can't really write until I see the whole story. And my brain really wants to write in order. And so sometimes I'm blocked because my brain won't like, oh, we can't see this part, so now we can't write anything. But this time, because of pandemic and other things, I just have had a really hard time writing. And so I allowed myself to write out of sequence. So I was like, well, I'm just going to write whichever scene I can see and not worry about what comes before it or what comes after. So I had this really interesting journey where I actually wrote the second half of the book before I wrote the first half. And while I was writing the second half of the book, my subconscious kind of filled in what was going to happen in the first half. So I'd written like the first two chapters, and then I wrote like the last 8 chapters, and then I went back and filled in the middle. And that was like very new like experience for me. So now I'm like, yes, I've solved it. And I'm sure when I sit down to do the next book, I'll be like, it's not working. I don't understand. But
I love doing that. I love writing the ending for whatever reason. Now I know where I'm going. And so I
don't love that, but that's what I did kind of.
It's almost so funny how every writer has just like their own process, and yours is even different because every time is different. So that's really cool.
Well, I think you can write yourself in a corner if you're like, I need to do it this way. Yeah.
I just wanted to remind everybody watching that we're giving away a $20 gift card and an ebook of the next book that we haven't announced yet. So we're giving that away to people who comment. So if you have any questions,
one person who comments.
Well, we're giving the $20 to one person and then the ebook to another. So yeah.
Can I say a shout out to I don't know if it's Leisha Haney or Leica Haney, but she's one of the people that won my giveaway in the Fall into
a book.
I think maybe she's in Midnight in the Garden too, because I did giveaways in both places.
I think she is.
Yeah. So like contact me because you won the signed book. Hopefully she heard me. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Hello from Texas. Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you. And we got a little name correction here. So it was Lena is pronounced like Glenna without the G.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you for letting us know.
Sorry, Lena. Didn't mean to mispronounce.
And we appreciate you telling us. And I think, what was our question for the readers? It was, have you ever had a paranormal experience?
Yep.
So we had some interesting answers to that, but we have to ask Asa, because we're going to put you on the hot seat. Have you ever had a paranormal experience?
As a scientist, I should say, like, no, they don't exist, but yes. I haven't really seen like ghosts or anything like that, but when my paternal grandmother passed away, like before I found out that she'd passed away, because I was in college here, and the time difference between Sweden and the US, so I hadn't found out yet, but she came and told me herself, like in a dream, like, and it was a very vivid dream. So that was like I kind of count that as a paranormal, but I was very close to her, and so that was. So when Mom called and told me, I kind of already knew, like I wasn't a surprise, and then and then I when I first moved to California, I stayed with a friend of a friend. This is like, in college where you're like, hey, does anybody know anybody in California I can sleep on their couch? And that's how it worked out. So I stayed with a friend of a friend, and that friend's roommate was from Mexico and had this like sort of wonderful idea of beliefs that she had brought with her from her culture. And what she was convinced that one of the rooms, the room that they put me in, was haunted. So she put a like a vase in there that had some rocks and some water and some other stuff that she said was going to protect me. And I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But it needed to stay like in the window. But I needed to put something in the window, so I moved it and put it like in the back of the room. And that night, I remember this like really vividly. That night I woke up and I swear somebody was sitting on my bed. So I thought it was them, but when I turned on the light, I couldn't see anybody. So I went back into the bed and I could still feel the dip on the bed. So then I got up and turned on the light again, and you could see the dip on the bed. Somebody was sitting on the bed, but nothing.
It's horrifying. So
then I put the vase back in the window, and they left. So that vase stayed in that window the entire time I stayed with them. Yeah.
Wow.
And here's the fascinating thing. One of our readers said, I had to go sit on my bed in a hotel in Salem.
Oh, wow.
And her roommate experienced it, and she heard it speak to her too.
Oh wow. God.
Yeah, that's a creepy one. And someone says, I haven't, but my mom has. She's seen the ghost of my great grandmother a couple of times just after she passed away. Wow. So like you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to energy.
Yeah, I agree. There's something about that energy. Somebody, and I can't see their name, says, I also saw my grandmother the night she passed away in a dream. She came to me, and my grandfather passed a few years prior. And then I felt another Facebook user says, I felt my mom's presence through the years. She passed away almost 43 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love
Yeah.
the great connections between like your parents and your grandparents, and those strong like connections are so strong.
Yeah.
And somebody said that was me, Abbie Rhodes, but it on my screen it just says Facebook user. It doesn't say your name.
Yeah, I know. I know. Sometimes it does that. Yeah.
It's a weird glitch with StreamYard, so we can't always see who's like. I can see them in my group because I have my iPhone right here, but like on StreamYard, it won't always say who it is. So sorry, Facebook user, I don't know who you are.
What about you guys then? I'm going to put you on the spot. Have you guys had paranormal experiences?
I've had a really interesting one. When it was like you, it was a dream, and it was my cousin who had passed, and he came and he told me that he needed to tell me the secret of life. And so he whispered something to me, and I couldn't, and it just like suffused me with this wonder and joy, and it was so beautiful and overwhelming, and I was just, amazed, whatever he said. Then he said to me, get up and write it down. And I said to him, I'm a little tired right now.
Diana.
I'll write it in the morning.
Oh man!
So in the morning, I woke up and I thought, well, I should really write that down. And then, of course, I was like, wait a minute. There were no words. It was just a feeling, and it all vanished. Sorry, y'all. I had it. I let y'all down. I'm sorry.
You did.
We could have known the
I
secret.
know. It's so bad.
She had this secret and then she lost it. Daggone
Yeah,
it.
but now if I get an idea at night, I get up and write it down because I'm like, just get up and write it.
I had an experience once where I was going to see a psychic, and I was in an audience with a bunch of people, and every person got to ask the psychic a question to get a reading. And so the entire time I was thinking, I'm going to ask her why I'm so scared about my husband having a car accident on the way to work and dying. Mm-hmm. And so when it got, and like the whole time, and I was like halfway through the audience by the time it got to me, and at the last split second, I changed my mind and I asked her, hey, can you see past lives? And I don't know why I changed it, but I just changed it at the last minute. And I'm like, can you see past lives? And she started choking. I don't know why she like literally started choking and coughing and had to leave the stage, and get herself under control. And it was like 5 minutes later, she came back and she said, yes, I can see past lives. And you know that abandonment issue you have, that thing where you're afraid of always losing the people you love, that's because you were in a past life, you were in a war and everybody you love died.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. I just got chills.
I know. Like, that's my paranormal experience. Anybody else? Jenny? Sharon?
I've had a bunch of them. Have you, Jenny? Have you had any?
Sharon, I've had a bunch.
Very casually.
The one that I think of that I just thought of was it wasn't actually that many years ago. It was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and we were in Florida, and we were at this beach state park thing, which, I'm from Colorado. A state park is in the mountains, but it was like a beach state park. And I walked into I had to go to the bathroom, and I walked into like the public whatever bathroom thing, and I was so overcome with that something horrible had happened in that bathroom that like I was nauseous. I had to leave. Like I was terrified because I just knew, like I walked in and I just knew like something terrible had happened in that like bathroom in this beach state park. I don't know. It was creepy.
Did you ever did you ever research it and see what had happened?
Oh, heck no. I just scared and ran away.
Yeah, but I've had that happen. Location, it just has a bad vibe. And the same with locations that have a good vibe. Mm-hmm. You're just like, wow, there's a peace here.
Well, and I think too, women have a little bit of an intuition about that stuff just naturally.
I when I was a kid, I grew up in New Jersey in the mountains, and there were a ton of Revolutionary War battles that took place. You don't really hear about them because they were skirmishes, not with the Continental Army, but with the militias. So you don't learn about them in history books. But they were all over where I grew up. And I used to volunteer where you dress up in little outfits, and in the fall, you make applesauce and stuff in the kitchen and stuff like that. And one of the houses had housed both had housed both General Washington and General Clinton at one time during the war. As they switched land back and forth, and I was always out of the sides of my eyes seeing rebel soldiers and seeing British soldiers, always just like a snap. Like I'd turn and it got to the point where it became a joke because I would like shake or I'd move. And you saw another soldier, and it was like you sometimes in the foggy mornings when we get there really early, you'd walk out and you could almost see them like lying on the ground. It was the weirdest thing. And I worked there for like 4 years, and I kind of just got used to it. But I remember being stunned when I finally really said something to somebody and they had no idea what I was talking about. I thought everybody knew it.
Oh my gosh. Wow. You just thought it was just, we're just not talking about it, but it's,
yeah. I thought, okay, it's just the thing that you do when you work at this. It was a historic mansion. It's still there. It's really beautiful. But, and then I learned in one of my history classes with that, it was a site of many, many skirmishes on both sides, and a lot of men were lost.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think that's a great segue because we only have about 4 minutes left, and we want to get to we want to be able to.
And I see the comments here. I wish I could read everybody's good, but I've read them. I see you there, guys. Thank you for your stories. Sorry, go ahead, Jennie.
And the one about the picture with the evil looking face in the window, that comment, whoever you are.
the flashlight one too.
Oh wait, and before we move on, we have to say Asa's second book's coming out next week.
Yes. Asa, tell us about it really fast.
So this is the third book is coming out on. Let's see if I can do this correctly. There we go.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's kind of flashy, but I have fairy lights set up in the
beautiful.
Corner. That's what you're seeing there. But it's Molly and Des again, and this time their twin kids are disappearing, and so they're finding the one twin sort of put to sleep and arranged in a mock funeral out in the woods, and the other twin is gone, and this is happening all over the country, and so Des and Molly ends up having to travel to Colorado to solve this case, and they end up working with Molly's ex-boyfriend, Clark, who we don't like, and then some other.
I can't wait for that. I'm excited.
Yeah, some other foes show up.
And what was the date again?
This one is called Flash of Fate.
Yeah, but what was the date it's released?
Oh, on Tuesday, September 29th.
September 29th. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jennie.
Okay. So
thank you, Asa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Let's take you out now. Okay, bye. All right.
So this is a great segue. All I'm going to say is,
oh my gosh, so excited for this.
Hold on, I've got author questions. Should we skip those?
I know. No, I'm leading you. I'm leading there.
Lead.
Yeah, I'm leading. So next month is October. So Abbie's going to share our author questions that have a little bit to do with the holiday coming up in October.
Yay. All right. So guys, if you've not watched one of our live stream before, one of the things that we do is we always ask a question. And the answer is one of us authors, and you have to guess which author it is. Okay. And I'll post these questions in a poll after the live stream. So just keep your eye open for it. We love to see what you guess. All right. So number one, which author's parents were so poor they couldn't afford to buy Halloween costumes? So she ended up going as a bum every year. And you get to guess which one of us. Which author was always a cowgirl for Halloween because her mother loved Roy Rogers? This author hated being a cowgirl. She really wanted to be a witch. Which author dressed up as a bunny for Halloween? And not the sexy kind of bunny. No, this was the kind with the pink footy pajamas, a safety pin attached tail, and a hat with ears attached under the chin. And which author dressed up as a zombie in the 4th grade and talked her sister into creating a haunted house in her backyard, sold tickets to attend the haunted house, but then forgot to tell her mom until all the neighborhood kids started showing up after dinner? All right, these questions will be posted in the group. Just make sure you find them and answer them all. We're always curious to see what you guess.
Okay.
Okay, so we have just a couple minutes left so we can share our next book, and we're super excited. So we got to get rid of our
Oh, I'm adding mine to it.
our lightnings. All right.
All right, here we go.
My hat is drooping.
All right. So, interestingly enough, the heroine of our next book gets accused. Some of her new neighbors think that she is a witch. And so we're really excited because what's happening in our next book is it's a mashup of paranormal and women's fiction. This is a brand new genre, and we're so excited that this next month we're going to have New York Times bestselling author Dorinda Jones.
Woohoo!
And we are going to read her book Betwixt, which is so fun because Betwixt is the
gorgeous cover. Sorry, guys.
Betwixt is the first book in the series in this women's paranormal fiction, and it's a divorced, desperate woman, and she finds out that she is bequeathed this house by a complete stranger in Salem. And of course, when she goes there, of course, there's a hunky handyman that's going to help her with this house and her being a witch. And the second book in that series comes out in a few days too. So very excited, and we're so excited to have Dorinda. We love her. She's just so much fun, and we're going to have a great time with her next month. And we can't wait for you to start reading Betwixt.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
That's the book we're giving a free copy away, right? To one commenter.
Yes.
So one of the people have commented, you're going to win a free copy of the book. So.
Well,
thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next month. Bye everybody.